Hi guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be sharing with you 7 tips on discerning religious life.
So while we were filming our last video on discernment, we came up with a list of 7 helpful tips that we think could really help you guys out in discerning your vocation. So if you want to check out that video, it'll be linked down in the description, so you can just go back there and watch it and then come back and continue on with our part B.
Tip number 1, get a prayer life.
Okay, guys, this is number 1. I can't stress it enough. Like seriously, if you're discerning that Jesus is gonna be your husband one day, you need to know who he is. You need to know what his voice sounds like. You need to know how he speaks to you. And you need to know, and he needs to know you too. You need to show who you are to him. You can't be afraid and go, oh, I'm gonna pray for these people and, oh, thanks for letting me know that they're okay. No, he wants to know you. If you're gonna be his bride, there's gotta be that give and take. So, you're gonna go and you're gonna pray. And then once you pray, then you're gonna take note. And you'll be like, okay, how is Jesus speaking to me? And if you have trouble with finding out how Jesus speaks to you, you can use tip number 2. So what is tip number 2?
Tip number 2 is journaling.
Journaling! My favorite thing. Okay, I mean it is, but there's a reason for that. Okay, so when I went to the Life Team Leadership Conference in Atchison, Kansas, my junior year of high school, I got taught about how to journal. And up until that point, it was sort of just like a love letter between me and Jesus, which is like, it's cute. It works. It counts as prayer. But this took it way deeper. And it was really, really, really neat. So basically, you just start out the page, you write your name, and you're like, okay, this is what I want to ask for. This is what I'm writing about. And then you write Jesus' name. And then you wait. And then you pray, and then you wait some more. And then you just start writing back what he could be saying. And then eventually that'll flow really easily, and then you'll just have exactly what Jesus is telling you written on the page for you to read. And it's amazing, because it's stuff that you like, oh, I never would have written that. Like, that is totally from Jesus. And it's super cool because you can go back to it later and go, whoa, on November 5th, 2018, you can go, oh, Jesus said this to me, and whoa, what does that mean? Who knows? But you can use it, and you can go far with it, because you can be sure that it's Jesus speaking to you. So the cool thing about how Jesus talks in journals is that you don't have to worry if it's like my thought, like is it from me, is it from him, is it from like a weird other thing, or like what's going on, is because Jesus can use anything. He can use your best friend to talk to you. He can use the words of your parents if he wanted to. He can use a random post on the internet if he wants to. Like, he can speak to you through anything. So even if you write something down, even if it's not necessarily straight from the mouth of Jesus, it can still speak to you, and it can still be from Jesus, just in like a roundabout way. So don't worry, trust him.
Tip number 3, get a spiritual director and surround yourself with spiritual friends.
Okay, so this tip is awesome, guys. So spiritual directing and spiritual friends are so helpful in discernment because you can bounce your ideas off of them. They can help you discern. They can help you try to like translate everything you're getting into prayer and try to figure out like, whoa, where's it coming from? Where's it going? Where's it been? What's the pattern? That sort of thing. And they can really help you out a lot. So highly recommend get a spiritual director. Surround yourself with other people who are discerning so that you can get their input on your own discernment, and then you can help with them too. It's always helpful to have people around you to talk to and bounce ideas off of and to just share your experience with, because you don't want to go through things alone. It's important. Like, yeah, you have Jesus because you're praying to him all the time, because tip number 1, pray. But it is helpful to have an outside perspective. And a spiritual director, someone who's trained in spiritual direction, can help so much, especially a really holy priest or really holy sister, or even a really holy lay person who's just trained in how to discern, especially spiritual direction. And the Ignatian method, super awesome. Get someone trained in the Ignatian method. It's so helpful. Ignatius wrote a whole bunch of rules. Don't remember the exact number right now, but he wrote a whole bunch of rules on the discernment of spirits, and it is so helpful in discerning. And a spiritual director will really help you try to decipher your journal as well. So always bring your journal to your appointments, because you can go, so I don't know if this was from me, if this was from Jesus, like I don't know, this is really weird, I was getting this in prayer, but I don't know what it means. Your spiritual director can tell you, well, not tell you, they can help you discern what it is. Like there's like the whole vocation discerning, and then there's the discerning of just the little stuff. And your spiritual director will help with that. So get a spiritual director. Holy friends will help too. Get them.
Tip number 4. Don't get discouraged while waiting.
Now this one's a hard one. I will acknowledge that.
One of the hardest.
It's a very hard one. Especially if you're running full steam ahead and then all of a sudden Jesus is like, hold up, I need you to wait for a while. And you're just left going, what's going on? I don't have a next step. So my household sponsored a talk on vocations at Franciscan University of Steubenville recently. And during the talk, we were basically talking about how to view our discernment in the ways of a staircase. So we're standing on a staircase and we can see our stair and we can see previous stairs, but we can't see what's ahead of us. It's sort of obscured by some fog. And so we're trying to weed through the fog and go, where is the staircase? What's the next step? What's it look like? What's going on? And sometimes Jesus is asking us to just sit on the step, just stand there and wait. And usually that means there's some sort of lesson that he's trying to teach you, or there's some virtue that he needs you to grow in, or there's some other step you need to take in your life, or you need something to happen to you to like affect your spiritual life, or something that will help you take that next step. Because otherwise, if you don't go through the thing that he's trying to give you at that moment, then when you take the next step, it won't make any sense. And you'll be like, what? This is the next step? This doesn't make any sense. This doesn't fit with me at all. But that is because you haven't gone through what he needs you to go through so that you can understand the rest of it. Hopefully that makes sense.
Tip number 5. Don't wait for God to send you a sign that'll slap you across the face.
Okay. Hard one. I know. We get from waiting on a step to now, wait a second, God's not going to give me a sign? And it's like, well, God may give you a sign, but that's not always how he speaks. And it's important to remember that. He can speak through the little things. And to illustrate this point, I have a Bible verse for you from my handy dandy Bible that looks like this. Highly recommended because it has a zipper, so it's nifty. Okay. 1 Kings chapter 19, verses 11 through 12. And it says, "And he said, Go forth and stand upon the mount before the Lord. And behold, the Lord passed by, and a great and strong wind rent the mountains, and broke in pieces the rocks before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind. And after the wind, an earthquake. But the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake, a fire. But the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire, a still, small voice." God didn't come in a gigantic sign. He came in a little voice. Not some huge like, what? My life is forever changed. I'm St. Paul. I just got thrown off a horse and I saw our Lord and now I'm like, woohoo! I'm an apostle. No, it's not going to happen to everyone. It's not going to happen to most people. Most people, it's just going to be God going, hey you, I want you to be my bride. Whoa. I mean, that's pretty cool.
Tip number 6. Read and learn about religious orders.
So, this is the fun part. You get to research about all these different orders and you get to look up pictures of nuns and get to know what they're like. And yeah, it's super fun. I want to recommend 2 books and 3 movies or films. Okay, So the first book is by Father Michael Scanlon, and it is called What Does God Want? And this is sadly out of print, but if you can get it anywhere, used, whatever, borrow it from a friend, your priest probably has one, it's really, really good. And the second book is the Spiritual Exercises of St. Ignatius, Rules to Discernment of Spirits, and those are so helpful. So like, even if you don't have a spiritual director, which, get a spiritual director, but if you don't have one, it's really, really helpful. Or even if you do have one, it'll be helpful to just bring it up in conversation. So it's just a bunch of rules that you can sort of be like, okay, I'm in desolation right now. What does that mean for my discernment? Or, hey, I'm in consolation right now. What does that mean for the future of my spiritual life? And it helps you make decisions based on what sort of section you are in your discernment and your spiritual life. So highly recommend that. Now, the first film that I highly recommend is For Love Alone, which was made by the Council of Major Superiors of Women Religious, which is a great website, so we'll link that down below. So if you can find that anywhere, highly recommend watching that. It's great. You can get to know different orders, different religious, and it helps you get an idea of who they are and the loveliness that they are. It's so good. The second film that I highly recommend is called Light of Love, and it is a very good documentary on women religious, and it is just so good to like see their apostolates. You get to kind of follow different sisters in their apostolates and what happens like in their day-to-day life, and it gives you a good like idea of what it's like, and yeah, it's great. And the third one is Beloved, about the Nashville Dominicans, aka the Dominican Sisters of St. Cecilia. It's a great documentary, especially if you're looking into Dominicans, and then even more specifically their order, because it gives you like all the background and everything about them. But it's a really good documentary. It tells you a lot about the order. And then from there, branch out. There's loads of documentaries of sisters on YouTube and discernment videos in general. Like there's loads. Most orders have at least some sort of video on YouTube that you could look up and get to know them a bit. But from there, you want to go and branch out to the actual order. So if you want more information, so like once you start to narrow it down to a few specific orders, then you can email them and ask for information. Watch the documentaries, read books, get to know your favorite orders, keep your options open. Just try to figure out where you're being led, what Jesus might be asking of you, what sort of apostolate you're looking at. Those really help you narrow down orders.
And the last tip for you is keep your likes, dislikes, and talents in mind.
So the important thing to remember while discerning is that God formed your heart. And He wouldn't put something on your heart that He's not going to fulfill. He wants to fulfill the desires of your heart because He put them there. He formed your heart in a certain way so that you will be even more happy in your final vocation. So He's not going to call you to do something that you hate. It's not going to happen. He may form you to like a certain thing that you never thought you would like, but He's not going to make you do something for the rest of your life that you're going to hate. He's not going to make you do something for the rest of your life that's going to make you feel uncomfortable. He wants you to love Him, and He wants you to be happy. That's what He wants. So the important thing to remember is like, if you're great at school and you really love biology and you're like, oh, I could be a nurse, maybe God's gonna use you being a nurse in a community. And then also, if you really feel called to just prayer, that's perfectly valid. And there are religious orders that pray, and that's their mission, is to pray, to make reparation for our sins, and to help us, because we need all the prayers we can get, because we're out in the world being tempted by all the craziness of the world. We need their help. So, hey, if God's calling you to help us out and be our spiritual mother, that is wonderful. Go right ahead. That's great. If Jesus leads you in a different direction, or He's like, hey, I want you to try this, then definitely go with it. Like, don't go, nope, it's not what I want to do, so I'm not going to do it, Jesus. Don't do that. I mean, I did that for a while, and then I was like, oh, I'm sorry, Jesus. Just use your likes and dislikes and talents and desires on your heart as a sort of jumping off place, and then let Jesus work from there through your discernment. And he'll lead you wherever he needs you to go, because he made you to go to a specific place, and if you're earnestly trying to do his will, he's not going to lead you astray. So trust him.
So those are just some of the tips that we have for you guys. If you have any more questions, don't be afraid to leave them in the comments. She likes answering questions.
I do.
So we got you covered there. And we will see you in our next video.
God bless you. Thanks for watching.